and good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. You're joined by myself tonight as GB, and we are joined by JM and young Robert. How are we doing, lads?
Oh, good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Surviving. The aftermath of the weekend is starting to calm down a wee bit in my kind of household, so but I'm sure we'll touch on that with yourself and Robert. Robert, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. Yourself?
Aye, just like I say, surviving the aftermath is what it is. I mean, I hope you enjoyed that kind of wee rendition of the Rangers Radio mix there as we were coming into the show. That was there must be the remix that Fox is doing in the background.
Reliving the IB for days.
Oh, definitely. I think that's what it is. Aye. Right. So, JM, been a couple of days. I do believe you were at the game. To just get your kind of overall thoughts and how you are, what your kind of thoughts are now that a couple of days have passed, mate.
I've got to be honest, before the game I was quite excited knowing that they had a reasonably weak side out, considering they were missing a few players, whatever, a couple of rookie defenders in. Then I also saw our team. It looked like the idea was going to be offensive. We were going to be on the front foot like we were at the back end of last season against them. And we saw what happened if we got at them. First few minutes, again, obviously, we get the disallowed goal, which obviously was offside when you look at it VAR. But then after that, I just got more and more disappointed as the game went on. We just seemed to keep sitting back, keep being negative, and then that got onto the crowd, and it just seemed to get worse and worse as the game went on, to be honest. And afterwards now, 2 days after the game, I'm sat here quite disappointed and wondering how we're going to improve going forward.
Aye, it has left a lot of question marks. Robert, I don't know about yourself, mate. I don't know if you're at the game or if you're just watching it in the house or whatever, mate. But your kind of thoughts on the game, mate, and obviously the aftermath, mate.
Bitterly disappointing, given the result and performance away at PSV. The players said it themselves. This was a game to bounce back and fix the issues, and we never saw anything in terms of trying to resolve a flat performance. Started off well, like GM said, and as soon as that Matondo goal goes in, rightly offside, but as soon as it goes in, I got the feeling that we were up for it. We were going to go hammer and tong, foot firmly to the pedal, and then it just didn't. It just went completely flat. And that was a team that they were there for the taking. That was not their strongest side. The back four, the way it finished, was you would never predict that to line up. So it was worrying that we couldn't get that chance. Overall, out of the game, a draw was probably justified for both sides. I don't think they were great. I don't think they caused us too many issues. But it's just a worrying aspect that we're now, 4 games into the season, and we're still talking about flat performances. The team's gelled over pre-season, and the aftermath of it, I'm not surprised that people are jumping on the bandwagon. Do I think Beale's doing a great job right now? No. But will I still support him? Yes. As long as he's Rangers manager, I will. And I'm sure the other callers that come in will have different points on it. But I just think bitterly disappointing, a rough week. And I think what hurts most is the fact we're getting into a international break for 2 weeks with that hurting. Had we have got a performance and a result from it, we'd have been a bit more optimistic. But it's just very flat.
Mm-hmm. Aye, no, I agree, mate. I agree. I think it seemed to be the Old Firm game was a kind of game that everything was aligning. The Celtic dropped points the weekend before. We go into the game, we are probably our strongest team available, and what I say is the Celtic are kind of a wee bit in disarray because, let's face it, Brendan Rodgers are just back in the door as well. So it was all lined up for Michael Beale and his team to go out and execute it. Plus, there was a full house of Rangers fans, and I think that's where. Well, you'll probably have seen it at the game, is where the kind of anger came from, especially what I say is going down in a defeat.
Yeah, I think. I think going to your point about the anger first. I think a bit Robert alluded to there. I think the anger doesn't come from losing an Old Firm game 1-0. It happens. Great managers and great teams have lost games, but that's an accumulation of not seeing a half decent performance probably since the Newcastle pre-season game. And you could hear just how quickly when things weren't going to plan that, supporters have been bitterly disappointed up to now. But like we said, you go on to win that game and out was the line, it probably would have given the team just about pass marks, but that didn't happen, did it? And we're sat here now.
I'm going to ask the two of you about this because it's been a wee bit debated after the game. I'll go to Robert first. Robert, when you seen the team lineup, were you happy with it? Robert?
Oh, sorry, mate. Down on a bridge, man. I happy with it. I don't think there was many changes I would have made to the starting lineup. It looked, on paper, it looked like it would have done the job, especially with what they had as well. So I'd have said comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm. Right, so I kind of confident in what was put out because for myself, when I seen the team, I was like, that's a decent, strong team to get his goals. The kind of forward line made sense to me. Matondo was on form, Roof was on form, and Dessers. It seems to be that Michael Beale loves this kind of striker that can hold up the ball like an Alfie. They've been looking for that kind of replacement. So I was kind of confident in the team lineup. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I was confident in the team lineup. There was no real complaints from the start, especially from the forward line. Dessers seems to be his man at the moment, or obviously opinions might have changed a bit more after that game, but before the game there was no reason to see why the others should maybe start in front of him. My only weird one was with the back four. We'll go on to it more. I thought Sterling went on to have a good game, but I was confused at why we had a left-footed fullback on the bench. Because in my opinion, if you're fit enough to be on the bench, you should be fit enough to play. That was my only question from it. But in regards to the team going on to win the match, when I saw both lineups, I thought we were definitely favourites, and I was looking forward to watching the game before it started.
You've actually came on to something I was going to talk about. The reason why I raised that question is that a lot of people have obviously criticised the manager for tinkering again with the team. Now, we've made the signings, and if you think back to our kind of even our pre-season games, we had Sima. Sima was the guy that was kind of starting most of the games up front. Then he kind of dropped out. Then it was the likes of Danilo. He had a kind of wee run, dropped out. Then Matondo came onto form, and then he dropped out. And like you says, our left back position, Davies is nowhere to be seen. So the question is, kind of Robert, is that does the manager tinker too much with a squad rather than just go with a settled 11?
That's the issue, GB. He doesn't know his settled 11, and he's not going to know until he does tinker it a bit. So it's trying to get that balance between the games and when to do it. I think it was probably the right choice to start Sterling over Yilmaz. Yilmaz obviously came on for half an hour. That's maybe all he had. And I agree with Jayam though. I'm of the opinion as well that if you're fit for the bench, you're fit to start. But I think given that Sterling had played in midweek, he had extra energy in his legs than what Yilmaz might have had. But that's the thing we've spoke about on this show is the amount of tinkering that's getting done. And it's because he doesn't know his settled 11. And we don't even know it. And he's not going to know it until he does tinker here and there in certain games.
Do you think that's because, Robert, none of the players have actually took their chance? Is that down to the players as much as it is the manager changing it? Like Matondo took his chance and he started a few games, but Lammers, Danilo, Dessers, I know he seems to be a start, but has anyone actually staked their place in the team?
No, not for me. If you're talking about just new signings alone, the only one that's getting pass marks of recent weeks is Butland. Everybody else has been bit part performance. It's not been fluid. It's been very passive at times. And in terms of taking chances, Matondo obviously took his. He gets a run in a team that is not on form. And if this is the real Matondo, does he look good because the rest of the players aren't? So I think it's just one of the ones where if you get your chance, you've got to take it. And it's important that you do in this day and age. You don't stay in football for long, you certainly don't stay at Rangers for long, so they need to, as Bill said after his interview, take a look in the mirror and realise that they're playing for Rangers and there's a lot of expectation.
Just obviously back to the game, just to get your thoughts. In fact, before we do that, it is a phone-in show, so let's get the lines opened. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Jim, I think the first half, I mean, to be fair, as much as they got that goal, I did feel as though we started really well. Like, as soon as that, I mean, I knew that first minute that goal was definitely offside, but it showed the intent of how we were going to play that day. And I don't know, I'll go to you and Robert on it. I just don't understand why we took the foot off the pedal, because when we pressed them and we went at them, that's what happened. We scored that goal, and let's say even Desser's goal to a certain extent, although it was a shocking disallowed goal, but the way we played that, goal out, it was a fantastic team goal, and we just didn't seem to keep that intensity up.
No, you would have thought the first offside goal would have, you think the boys are going to get together and go, right, if we can get at these, this is what we could do, because although obviously it was offside, the move itself was that easy, just a flick on from the head, wasn't it? Got across Matondo's pace and he got in there, and then you think, right, we'll go again. The next 5 minutes or so were all right, but then it was kind of as soon as they got hold of the ball, for whatever reason, we seemed to be scared to press. I don't know if we were too much concerned about the pace they had up top, and we didn't want to get up the pitch, but they were there for the taking, and it was really frustrating to watch, and you could just see us gradually moving back. Even when the disallowed goal happened controversially, it still didn't really kick us on. We didn't get angry. We didn't get carried on anything like that, and that was disappointing.
Robert, Jay makes a good point. That the offside goal, you think when you're seeing things go against you, you think that it would fire the team up more to prove a point that day. I mean, because as much as Celtic had bits of possession and they had their chances and stuff like that, but that's going to happen in an all-firm game. That's to be expected. You don't think Celtic are just going to turn up and just lay down to us. But what I did expect is, for the fire to be in the belly, to get that goal and to go ahead, basically. Not to come out in the second half and just keep flinging balls into boxes and with no end product. And I think that's the difference, that we're just no clinical in the big moments.
Absolutely, mate. Like the whole, for me, it was the first half. I noticed I was dropping off 20-25 minutes into the game. As I said, we start well, and as you said, you should be fired up. You get that offside call, but you're in. Your first attack is you're in, and you've scored from it. It's offside. You've got 50,000 fans. You should be rallied up for that. And the fact that they didn't, it shows maybe a mentality issue with the squad as a whole, rather than just some individuals. But it was just, as James said, the lack of pressing. It was like we were a away team. Rabbits in the headlights, wanting to just sit off and allow them the ball until they got to the final third, and then it would be tackles, get in, but it was just very lacklustre from us, and it should be one of the ones where we should be fired up. And that was the issue. I didn't see an identity at the weekend for the game. It was a lot of long balls and wasteful passes, apart from the goals that we get that are offside. But again, it's definitely got to be firing up for that, and they didn't. And you've got 50,000 fans behind you. I don't know how you can be fired up for that. I just don't understand it.
Jim, I think there's been a thing that's been picked up as well with the way the team performed at the weekend, is that we're very wasteful players' talents, right? So we'll start with probably Cantwell, in the sense that we're playing Cantwell to cover for Tav when Tav's gone forward. Now, I get you've got to work hard as a team and stuff like that, and you've got to cover for people and such, but Cantwell is one of our most influential players in that squad. Why would we want to stifle him? We should be wanting him to be the one that's running and creating. And then you've got Ryan Jack covering the left-hand side at times as well, which, to be honest, between the two of them, doing that was allowing Callum McGregor to have the freedom of Ibrox, which every manager should know going into a Celtic game. As long as you basically make sure you cover their captain, then nothing really happens with them. And again, we let them away with it. We let Callum McGregor play his football, considering that he was meant to be on shocking form at the time.
Yeah, I think there's a few things in there. And I think from and it opens a can of worms with the manager, doesn't it? But he would have you think he's picked a bold lineup there, because obviously on paper he's maybe started four attackers, and Raskin being a bit bolder as well. But it's pointless starting them attackers if you're going to tell them all to sit, every player to sit in Rangers half. And then what else worries me is if you are going to be defensive and set out that deep, why are you starting these players? And second of all, like you said, then everyone knows we were just constantly letting them play out from the back. I think it used to be Scott Arfield used to do that role, and Scott Brown, didn't he? It was the same. You let their centre backs have the ball, and you stop their holding midfielder, whoever it would be, get the ball. Whereas where I see it right in the first half, you can see it clear as day. Our midfielders were sat pretty much on top of our back four. Every time they had a goal kick, Dessers would attempt to sprint to their centre back, and the centre back had the easiest pass in the world into Callum McGregor, and away you go. Suddenly they're attacking forward. So I don't know if you can blame personnel or instructions, because I didn't really want to see Michael Beale try and get his team to go forward either. It was the same thing every other time.
No, Robert, I think that's the thing. I think that Michael Beale was trying to get all these positions covered, but I think it's down to his system and instructions that he's over these next 2 weeks. I think Michael Beale's got to really look at his system and how he's going to work it, because he can't stifle players that are performing, if you know what I mean. And what I mean by that is that Cantwell's proved that he is much better in a kind of Lammers position and much more influential. And if you've got a guy that's up there on form that's scoring goals, along with, say, a Roof who's on form and can score goals, then surely you would want that more in your team rather than stifle a guy back to midfield.
Absolutely. You play to your strength, and if that strength is playing a player further forward or further back than what they may have been used to of recent, do it. But I said before, when Cantwell came in, for me, he looked like a number 10 more than an 8. I just feel you're taking that creativity and link up between the midfield and the striker when you drop him into midfield. Okay, he'll get the ball and he'll run forward, but once he's out of position, that's your man down in midfield. So for me, I would definitely be putting him in the 10 position. And if it's a toss-up between him and Lammers, you're going to go with Cantwell, because you've seen him do it last season. You know he's got a bit of flair, and he's got that creativity to find a pass through the eye of a needle at times. And if you do have somebody up front like Roof, who I still think is the best finisher at the club, you're going to get chances, you're going to get goals. And I think that is what it is. It's finding that system. And I think you're right, mate. He's got 2 weeks now to really focus in on it. He's got all the signings in. He's got no excuses to say that somebody was late in or they had a later start in pre-season. It's 2 weeks to hit the ground running as Rangers players and find that style and come back and look hungry and go for gold. Because now you're chasing by 4 points, and 4 points can be massive early on in the season. And it's games like that where you do lose a title.
Aye, it's hard to claw it back. Jai, I think that's the thing as well. That you could probably forgive the manager for putting maybe Cantwell in there to cover a position if we're decimated with injuries and stuff like that to do a job for us and stuff. But it was a full strength squad. You know what I mean? We had plenty of midfielders to pick for to put in there. I mean, even to be fair, Lundstrom's one of the better ones in a derby day to put into that midfield. So you could easily put him in and then pushed Cantwell up one. I just don't understand why he wanted to restrict one of his most talented players and one of his most influential players, especially in an Old Firm, considering his last performance in an Old Firm game.
And it's 2 games in a row where he's played him completely out of position, isn't it? Maybe the midweek game against PSV could possibly be excused because maybe trying something different and it maybe didn't work. That could be excused. But when you're talking 2 equal teams or when you're the favourite and you've got, I mean, he didn't show it in the second half, to be honest, but on his day, and if he finds the form of last season, he's probably the best attacking midfielder in the league. And we're playing him just as I don't even know how you describe how he played in the first half. Just a right-hand side of a free but defensive midfielder. It makes no sense. There's plenty of teams in the country or in Britain that would kill to have someone with Todd Campbell's creativity, and we're playing him as cover for a right back.
It just doesn't make sense. I think that sometimes the manager is sometimes all on his own. I look at his bench and I look at the guys that are there to support him, and they don't really seem to begin him instruction. When Beale was there with Gerrard and McAllister and stuff like that, you seen even McAllister putting his wee input into the game and stuff like that as well. You would expect, like I say, especially the way the game was going on and on and on, that you would think with someone experienced sitting on that bench that they would be turning into Beale and saying, look, maybe we should try something different, a different system. Maybe we should drop to a free at the back and just go out. But it seemed to be, and I don't know if you agree with this, Robert, it seemed to be as the game went on that we just flung the subs on. We just got everybody on, and he was lucky because the way Cantwell nearly got injured at the end there, we could have been playing with 10 men for about the last 10 minutes. It looked like kind of panic substitutions near the end.
It did, and it was more a reaction rather than an act before something had happened in the game. And although we were just flinging the subs on, the balls became hopeful as well, from centre back out wide up front. It was just long balls, and they were sitting deep and just knocking everything back. It just, as I said, there was no identity. There seemed to be whatever system it was he was trying to do, it definitely just went out the window in the last 10, 15. Desperation is what I would sum it up as, mate. Desperation. And if we were that desperate, I don't know why I didn't fling Goldson or Suter up as a target man if you're going to do the long balls and get knockdowns or the break a ball or something. It just seemed to run out of ideas. It's if he had an idea, then what he had obviously started pre-match, but it seemed to die out as the game went on.
Jai, you're at the game, right? So the Roof substitution comes up. The full stadium's absolutely raging with it. Did Roof show any signs at that point in time as if he needed to come off the park? Because I can understand the substitution if the guy's looking knackered and stuff like that. But for what I could see in the telly, Roof wasn't running up and down the park. He was managing his game well. And do you think that's why that a lot of people went out in the stadium kind of lost the plot when he was getting substituted?
I don't know if it's the Roof coming off or the fact that Dessers was staying on the pitch. And where it was, I think if you get the sense the crowd had enough of Dessers the whole game, running offside, silly fouls, not holding the ball. And I think it was a combination of Roof coming off, but also Roof being brought off after playing basically a game at wide right and being asked to do a bit of defensive work where the bloke's the best finisher in the team. You saw the goal, he got chopped off. I mean, Dessers, the other way around, Dessers wouldn't even have got the chance because Roof would have ran in and just put the ball in the net without trying to cut it back. And I think it was just a whole frustration. The fact is that watching that game with all the poor performances that were going on that pitch, the manager thought the first person to come off the pitch should be Kemar Roof, and that definitely wasn't the case from what I saw.
Aye. Mm-hmm. Robert, do you think... I'm forgetting. This is a phone-in show. Let's come and join the young team. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Sorry, Rob, I'll come at you now, mate. I'm just forgetting. We're chatting away here, moaning about the Rangers, and it'd be good to hear some of the points for the callers out there.
Absolutely.
Aye, Roof. Again, mate, were you at the game? Were you watching it in the house or what?
In the house, watching.
In the house, aye. So same as me. I don't know about you. When I seen Roof getting substituted, Granted, I would have probably took Dessers off as well, but Roof just seemed to be in that moment, mate. And I would have given him at least another 10 minutes on that park.
I wouldn't have taken him off at all. I would have probably, especially at 1-0 down, mate. You keep on your best finisher. I think the issue was that within the game, Dessers was probably getting a lot more attention from the commentators. I don't know if you find that yourself, that he was obviously getting mentioned more than Roof was. So whether that was a reason that Roof came off, I don't think it was anything to do with fitness. As you said, he was managing his game well. And as I said, for me, he's the best finisher at the club. You're 1-0 down, you need a goal, you're at home, you want your best finisher there. I've never heard a reaction like that for a substitution. And it's certainly one that I think maybe have kind of startled Michael Beale as well, and realised that maybe not all is well with his signings. And that's a question I was going to ask yourself and JM. Do you find it a bit strange or worrying that we've spent all this money on attacking lineup, and yet we're still picking a team of 3 of the back 4 that were there for the last maybe 5 or 6 seasons, and a striker who has been injury prone when you've got a £6 million striker on the bench? Is it worrying that our signings haven't hit the ground running?
I'll go first with that one. What was worrying is when you're hearing his press conference at the end and he's saying that we shouldn't expect these new signings to be automatic starters. Now, I get that. I get they've got to come in and earn their place, but I thought the whole point of his summer rebuild was to bring guys in who were starters, no squad fillers, you know what I mean? And that's what's worrying to me, that, like you says, Robert, is that he's eventually went to the Old Firm game. I was seeing that as a kind of key game. I mean, for me, he gets a kind of let off with the Kilmarnock game because everybody's just new and maybe a wee bit kind of rabbit in the headlights for the first game of the season, stuff like that. PSV is probably strike 2 for me. Morton, to a certain extent, goes in amongst that because of the performance. And then, really, strike 3 comes with the performance against Celtic when it's their weakest team. So they're the 2 big worries for me, mate, that he's saying that these players now were just basically getting brought into the squad to possibly be starters, when he was telling us before that the players that he was going to be coming in for were going to be automatic starters and getting in the squad and ready to score goals and play this attacking football. Don't know what you think, JM.
When you shift the amount of goals that Michael Beale shifted out of the team over the summer, where that had been because he didn't get on with players from when he came in, didn't give them a chance, like Kolak or whatever, or stuff happens with Sakala, but you need to be replacing that with more goals. You can't be hoping for Kemar Roof to start scoring. I think it's very worrying that none of these guys have spent a lot of money. There don't seem to be a partnership formed yet. I couldn't tell you who would be as well starting up front. You'd be as well picking out the hat at the moment, isn't it? The only one I'd say who should start, like Robert said, which is worrying, is a guy that's been here for years and has been injury prone because he's a proven finisher. I don't get who else should be starting up top at the moment because I've got no idea where any of their best positions are. And I don't actually see how they play. I don't see who's the off-the-shoulder striker, who's the finisher, who's the creator. There's nothing from these forward players that excites me going into the rest of the season.
Hope that answers that for you, Robert. Just a quick question, just to get your thoughts. The Ox last night had a wee poll running about stick or twist. And I suppose we've been talking for half an hour now about the manager, about the game. So, obviously, just to put it out there, Robert, stick or twist?
Stick.
JM?
Twist.
I'm going to be. I'm probably going to be on the fence. I'm going to be a bit of twist and a bit of stick, and purely that. See, what's worrying me is some of the names that's getting touted as replacements. I would rather stick if we're just going to go down the route of another average manager. If it's going to be
compared to our above average manager at the moment.
Yeah, compared to the average managers that we've already had in through the door. I mean, I think it's about time if we're going to be serious about getting managers in there, guys for the J League, man. I mean, I know that the Cross City got lucky with the J League kind of format, but I do worry if we're going to sack a manager and go down that route, another unknown manager, then we don't really have a great track record, Robert. Kind of going down that path, and it's the same with players as well, unknown players. I don't think we've really got a good track record in that area either.
No, we don't, mate. And I think that's one of my reasons for sticking is it's who next. And we've done this with Gio, we've done it after Gio. We just need a bit of stability. This whole merry-go-round isn't going to improve either. Because if a new manager comes in right now, we're back to square one, because he'll have a new style. He'll have new players in mind come a window in January. The players that he's got now, he's got to work with and find something. And that just might be more troubling than what is there and what Beale can do. And I'm not going to sit here and compare ourselves to across the road. But he had a style, and he bought players to suit that style. And it got him success. And that's what we need to do in our own merit. It's having that style, having the players to play to their strengths. It's just worrying how many names are linked and how you go from there. It's not ideal names.
I think, in fact, sorry lads, I just cut across you. I think we've been joined with Stuart. Are you there, Stuart?
Hello.
Hi, Stuart. How you doing, mate?
How you doing? All right.
Aye, good, mate. Good. Thanks for joining us tonight. What's your points, buddy?
I think there's a few. The first thing I would say is stick, I guess, but just for basically what you guys are saying, what else is out there? I mean, you could be going down that rabbit hole again, and you've lost a league. I think if you change it now, the league would be gone anyway. So you've really got to stick. That's my feeling. But I blame the board a bit. When they brought Beale in, for me, he looks isolated. He wanted to recruit the players himself. He's kind of isolated himself by definition. What he should have done was he should have got somebody in with a bit of knowledge. I mean, he thinks he knows Rangers and Scottish football and that. He's been there a wee while. But if they had brought somebody in, you were talking about somebody had Gary McAllister and that there. You needed somebody with a bit of, as you say, somebody to talk to about it, with a bit of history behind them, and say, look, it was obvious to everybody that's phoned in or anybody I've spoke to that after 10 minutes there was something wrong. So Beale's always saying, I've not got a plan B because I'll just do plan A better. That doesn't work. He should have had a plan B, and it was obvious he should have went 3-5-2, which could have been 3-4-3. Cantwell being the one flitting out and in is the 5. So that would have given you plenty of cover. And the reason they never pushed up, because they were frightened of the wingers, the lack of pace maybe, of ball over the top. But if they'd played that young guy at Stirling, I thought he had a not too bad game actually, out of position. But if they played him on the right, he would have covered for Tav, and it would have let Tav get further on, and it let Roof to get on the end of balls and all that. But I don't know if I don't know if anybody's mentioned it. But partway through the first half, Roof's waving his hand as if to say, come up, Ken. But they were all kind of, I don't know. You've got to blame Beale for that, because he must see what we're seeing. And he just didn't do anything about it. And you know what? As it come up to half time, as always, I thought they've got to score. I just had that feeling. And lo and behold. But unfortunately, I think we've got to stick unless it goes really bad. And what I mean by that is, put the next 2 or 3 games. If he drops any points in the next 2 or 3 games, he's gone. He's got to. If he was a man at all, he would resign and say, look, I've had enough. Who comes in? The board will be looking at that, the new actually. So just in case it goes, I mean, if he doesn't win the next 2 games, he's got to go. Simple as.
I'll take that, Stuart. What I'll do, mate, see the point on what you're saying is, where do we go? What does Beale need to do to kind of get the fans back inside? I'll take that point round JM and Robert now. So JM, okay. Beale, what should we expect? He's coming back into, I think it's St Johnstone he's got to be playing when he comes back. Does he really need an absolutely clean results all the way to kind of Christmas now? Plus, I would say maybe the League Cup as well needs to be in the bag for them to get the fans back inside.
100%. I mean, let's be realistic. It's asking a lot, and we can expect a lot. But a clean 100% record to Christmas, maybe really hoping a lot. You can pick up a draw somewhere, but that's fine. But I think the fans need to see this handbrake off that he's been going on about for months. If we can see that, and if you draw a game or two going up to it is what it is. It's competitive football. It happens. I think we need to accept that. But the performances add up, and then the League Cup's a must, isn't it? The League Cup's an absolute must. I mean, if you like, St Johnstone and Kilmarnock have both helped Beale out a little bit to stop the start of the season being disastrous. But the League Cup's a must, and I think the fans need to come back. That first game away at St Johnstone, they need to see this handbrake off.
Robert, I think even if he's got a 100% record in the league, if he loses this League Cup, then I think it could be curtains as well.
Possibly, mate. You look at the League Cup now, and you go, on paper, you would have us as favourites, given that Kilmarnock put that lot out. But that doesn't go for anything these days. As we've seen, MD can beat MD in this league. And when it comes to a cup, it's a cup final every game until you win it. I think, as you say, it's a long way till Christmas. There's big games. He's not just to mention the league and the League Cup. He's got Europe to start as well. When he comes back after the break, and some of the games in Europe will be tough, especially the away games against certain teams. But I think he is going to take this 2 weeks, and hopefully he does realise that things need to change, and it's about how he goes about that. I think that's when we'll see how he is as a manager, how he can change what has been to what could be, and hopefully what we will see from the style to the performance. I mean, we'd all love a 3-0, 4-0 every week, but you'd want a great performance and a 1-0. It gets you 3 points, as does a great performance in 5-0. And that's ultimately all that matters, is getting the points on the board. But if it's 1-0 every week, you want a good performance behind it. You want to see your team clicking, especially in new signings.
Aye. Stuart, I think with the weekend's result, it's put pressure on Beale now with the Europa League as well. Like, I think, say if we were sitting pretty tidy in the league, I don't think there'd be as much pressure now for him to perform in the Europa League. As much as, like I says, Rangers expect to go in and compete and win most games in there and stuff like that and earn more money in it. I think the pressure's right on him now, even in the Europa League now, because the expectation for him to probably qualify through that group, if he doesn't qualify out of that group, then there's got to be even mega pressure on that, because then they'll be seeing that they've lost money again.
Yeah, I know. No, I get what you're saying. And there's just pressure to win games, whether it's Europa League, the league or the cup. But my view is, if he could get this cup under his belt and get a trophy, I think that would lift the whole place. And my other point is, if he come to, say, January the 2nd, and he's no close, if the 4-point deficit isn't any worse than that, he's still in with a chance of making progress on the back of the cup. So I think, through all the things, the Europa League, the league and the cup, if he could keep pace with the league the way it is now and win that cup, what I'm saying is, by the time he comes to that cup, going through the quarterfinals, the semis and that, I think they'll win it. I really do. We do a wee bit of luck, and I'm really positive about it. And I think if he can get that under his belt and just say he's 4 points behind, I think that'll really give us a boost, and it'll give the fans a boost, because we've been starved of it since the stopping them for winning the league that time, and getting 55. Mm-hmm. And if we do get a couple of good results, and I think we seem to do quite well in the Europa League. And we play a wee bit more expansive football there for some reason. Maybe it's because, this might sound stupid, but nighttime football seems to suit us for some reason. You know what I mean? That sounds crazy, but it just seems that way.
They've not had their Weetabix in the early mornings games.
It seems to be a different kind of special atmosphere. It doesn't seem to be as much pressure. I don't know, maybe it's just me thinking that way. I just to get that feeling. We look forward to the European nights. It gives you a different angle on it. It gives you a different feeling, a different buzz. And I think there seems to be less, apart from the Eindhoven thing, obviously. But again, with Eindhoven, what Beale's not doing is, he's not looking at other teams. He's just focused on his own team. Like, we're all armchair managers. But there were two obvious things after the first Eindhoven game, and he should have done this with Celtic as well. He looked at the Eindhoven game. There's two players he should have marked out the game, De Jong and that other guy, I can't mind, but that black boy sort of boy, good player, and it scored the goals and that. He should have marked the two at the game, and that would have kind of nullified him a bit. And one of you said about McGregor, he was swaggered about there, 15 years of space. That should never have happened. So he played into their hands. So he needs to stop that, and I don't know how he stops that, where the players are no kind of buying into his system. I get that feeling that the players are maybe no buying into it. I don't know if he spoke to the players when he's recruited them, and they've come with a false sense of security, thinking I'm going to be a starter. But you hear him sometimes saying, I'm buying players, and they're coming right into the first team, and suddenly they're not in the first team. And they're thinking, wait a minute. So I think there's a wee bit of disharmony there. He needs to get that back, that's what I'm saying.
Well, the good thing is he has got 2 weeks with him to kind of get it. I think, as we touched on it, Stuart, earlier, that we need to kind of use these 2 weeks to get a bit of an understanding. And Stuart touches on that a trophy could change the kind of tide a wee bit for Rangers. We've seen it with other teams that as soon as they get that first trophy, that first taste of it, that it can kickstart a season. And for me, as soon as the game's done on Sunday, you're looking for the next thing that's going to help the team. And I would say that's probably one of the major things. If we can get the trophy in the bag, then it could kick us on in the league as well.
No, 100% winning brings confidence, doesn't it? If you can string a run together in the league, get a couple of positive results in Europe, get yourself through that. And then depending on the dates of timings, if you can get that League Cup under the belt, it could give the players a taste of winning. I mean, I think the annoying and the unfortunate thing is that we've now got a long 2 weeks to wait to see how the team bounces back. That might be a good thing for the managers and players, might take a little bit of heat off them, might let them just settle back in, have some honest chats and see how they get on, because a few of these players might have had a reality check to that Scottish football's not as easy as they thought it was going to be. But no, I agree though, Stuart. If we can get a win in the Cup, and then all you can do is win most of your games going into the game in January. There's a lot of football to be played between now and then. If you won that Cup, done well in Europe, everything will be rosy again, and we'll be wanting Michael Beale to stay for another 5 years.
Robert, it's amazing, isn't it? The League Cup's always been known as a cup. It's like we're not too bothered about it, and now there's so much importance on it now that if we do win it, that it might actually galvanise your team a bit.
Every trophy that you compete for is important, mate. It doesn't matter if it's the League Cup, the Scottish Cup, or the league. They're all trophies, and it's all winners' medals that you get, and it's what Rangers are used to. They're used to winning trophies, and we should be winning trophies. And it's been a long time since we've had that. So we need to prioritise that League Cup, in my opinion. However, it all kind of is circumstantial in a way that it depends on what the situation is with the league in Europe when that cup comes around. Will it paper over the cracks? Will it be that momentum booster? Or is it not? Again, you could be sitting going, we've won a League Cup, but you may be still 4 points behind the league, and you maybe get people going, well, we're chasing the league still, but you've got a trophy, so what's your bread and butter? It is the league. So it's about how circumstances and how it plays out, but it's definitely an important trophy now to go and get, and we're still on for a treble.
Well, that's it, Stuart. We're still in all the competitions. It's not as if it's game over. I mean, it is technically only 4 games into the season. A lot of people are swaying on the side, though, that if you do it early, then you've got the full season to try and grasp at something. But I think, Stuart, you make a good point, mate, that if you do pull the trigger, then you could be going down the road of writing off another season.
Definitely. I mean, I think that I would sign up the new if somebody said to me, you win the League Cup and you'll still be 4 points behind. I think I would be happy with that. I'd be happy with that. But another thing that bothers me, I don't know if you've noticed it, or you might have noticed it, but you didn't think it's important. I watched Tav's interview, and it doesn't breed a lot of confidence at times. He looks down, he looks disheartened, And I see sometimes that on the park, if somebody mispasted a pass or something, or Tav does something, he's got his arms out and that face of concern, what's happening, what he's doing type of thing. And the players, the other team, looks into that and they get encouragement to that. So it's been playing poker face, if you like, that's what I'm trying to say. Keep your demeanour right, and if you do make a mistake, just blank it. Didn't start moaning at other players, you should been watching them or whatever, because that feeds into it. It's like a boxing match. If you see somebody's kind of looking a bit apprehensive and that, you think, well, I'm getting a bit of encouragement here. And I think that all these wee things add up, that's what I'm trying to say. And Tav's always putting his arms out as if he's never done anything wrong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Goldson's pretty bad for it as well. I didn't like that. I'd like to see that changing a wee bit, because Guff, if you like, when something, he used to hear go at people, same with McGregor, to keep them intact. And Butland's starting to do that as well, which I like. I like what Butland's trying to do. So I think that could build confidence for the bat, because I think the bat sometimes lacks a wee bit of confidence, and that showed against Celtic, because we're too frightened to come out, and Butland was chasing them out as well. So I think if we could get the demeanour a wee bit better, all these wee notches here and there, fine-tuning I call it, he needs to get, it's not just fine-tuning with the players that they've brought in, it's their attitude, it's their mentality. And as one of you guys says, people, they'll know now what it's like to play for Rangers. Imagine these guys coming off the park on Saturday. They've never experienced anything like that before. The vitriol that was coming down out the stands, rightly so, I feel. They'll be sitting in the dressing room thinking, I'm waiting till everybody goes away. I'm feared to go out there. So that might change their attitude a wee bit. I hope so, anyway. I hope so.
No, you make a good point, Stuart. I'll take that actually, but the attitude thing, round the boys, I think, to be honest, I see if you look at the players of the squad, I think they've experienced every Rangers fan emotion, because Kilmarnock, they were getting shouted at after the park. Then obviously as the game's going, like you say, Livingston, they're experiencing that kind of euphoria, happiness. The Servette game, obviously we get through that and the fans are happy, but then they feel the full brunt of the Rangers support in the Old Firm game, and they know that that's just a no-no. You can't put performances like that in.
Yeah, they didn't know what it was going to be like to play for Rangers. They do now, don't they? I think Stuart raised a really good point on the demeanour, and I wanted to actually ask him a question back on that. Does he think any of that comes from the sideline and the bench? Because I may have gone on a bit before, but I look to our bench, and when I see them on the telly, it doesn't scream professionalism to me or seriousness when I look on that bench either. And I don't know if that filters through from the leadership straight through the management. Maybe there's been a slip in standards, reminding them we need to do week in, week out.
I agree with you. I like to. I mean, you watch. I didn't watch a lot of English football. I tend to just watch Rangers, believe it or not. But if you look at, say, Pep Guardiola, if you like, he's on the touchline, he's firing his arms about, he's got a sort of more active role, he's pacing up and down. Same with Jurgen Klopp, and a lot of the kind of successful managers are. Bill tries to be too reserved and calm and measured and all this kind of thing. He's reading the manual, if you like, about what to do, and his backroom staff are sitting with their arms crossed, looking down at their feet. And you're right. What we should be having somebody in his ear saying, well, you need to change it, man. Come on. You need to, again, this is happening. He needs to tell people, look, I'm not frightened if you challenge me here. I'm not frightened. It's like being the boss of a place, like I'm the boss, I'm in charge. What I say goes. And all the employees are feared to say anything. What they should be saying is, look, without embarrassing them in front of folk, but I would be encouraging that, saying, look, if you've got any input, let me know. What about, you're probably right, we'll try this. We'll try plan B or plan C. They should take plan A to E, if you like, for what to call it. At one stage, they should have been saying, right, they're getting a wee bit on top, right, let's go to a 3-5-2. And they'll be saying, oh, what's happening here? Then, after a wee while, he makes a signal to them, right, go back to 4-3-3, and they're going, what's happening here? But they're all sitting on the bench, they're not saying nothing, their demeanour looks bad. That's transmitted onto the park. I don't know if you've noticed it as much as I do. Their arms are flailing about, goals to the rally. What's happening? It's not my fault, it's your fault. There's a blame culture going on, and people are looking at each other for a wee bit of inspiration. And I like to have that. It's no sort of captain material to me at this stage. Do you know what I mean? He's been with Rangers a long time, come up through the ranks, but I just feel that it's hard to change it now, but I just feel if you had a strong centre half who was the captain, he would galvanise him like a Richard Gough type of boy, John Brown type of character. Do you know what I mean? That's what I feel. It's the demeanour a big thing as well. And the other team notice that weakness and they'll go for it a wee bit better, a wee bit more. All these wee things adds up. That's what I'm trying to say.
Jim, you want to take that point to Robert as well, mate?
Yeah, it was that question, and it was kind of if you on our show, because obviously you guys watching it on the telly might have seen a little bit differently to me. But what obviously being at the game live, and it is going back to Stuart's point about the bench and the demeanour and about the bench acting properly. When I was at the game live, because it didn't seem like after that foul was given for the disallowed goal that any of our bench seemed to kick off. So I turned to the guy next to me and I said, there might be something more in this than we think, because nobody's seemed to act bothered that our goal's just been chopped off. And I don't know if you guys saw it different, but it goes into that demeanour again. I remember when we played away there, when we actually won 2-1, and Beale and I forgot the other assistant, they both got themselves sent off because they were that bothered that Morelos got sent off, because they felt that obviously that he was being picked on and being singled out. But what I saw live, which you might be able to correct me wrong or different, we just had what seemed to be a perfectly good goal chopped off, and none of our bench looked asked.
Robert, on you go, mate.
Sorry.
The TV cameras were pretty much on the referee, pointing to the centre circle, and obviously fans think it's a goal, and I think it's a goal, and I'm celebrating in the living room, and then next minute it's a free kick to them, and I'm bemused. And it didn't really show you the bench, but I can imagine the way you're putting that across is probably right, GM. It's just no shout, no kind of fire from the side of the pitch. As you said earlier on, GB, that you see Michael Beale kind of standing there. You don't see Neil Banfield, Damien Matthews, or Harry Watling coming up and giving players instructions, shouting at them. It does look very an individual basis, like they're taking the back seat, and Beale's giving the kind of hand signals. On like the Stuart's point about the demeanour of Tavernier, there's two things that I can expect to happen in a game when James Tavernier loses the ball going forward. One, he'll commit a foul, or two, he'll stand and he'll fling his arms up in the air and jog back. That's the two things that you can guarantee that you'll get from James Tavernier. Anything else, you've got no idea what he'll do. He'll score a free kick, or he'll have an absolute horror show at right back. You can't predict it, but that's the two things that I see all the time when he loses the ball, and it is that demeanour. But in his post-match interview, if he's sitting giving an interview all bubbly and happy, I'd be raging about it. So the fact he is looking down and looking disheartened, it shows to me that he's feeling it, and rightly so. They should feel it, especially with the reception they got. They all spoke about, I'm looking forward to playing in front of the fans and getting the reaction, and that was a positive sense. Now they've got their end of the stick, and now they know exactly how it feels when things don't go right at Rangers. That we will get on your back, and we do demand a high level of standard, and right now we are not meeting that.
Stuart, can I just ask you quickly before we go to a tune, mate? Do you think that this has been a kind of running trend where, like our current manager and our previous manager, that we didn't have the number two next to him that had that kind of fire about him? Or, like I says, I think when Gerrard picked his backroom team, they all had each individual, like, kind of different personalities. You know what I mean? And I think JM touches on something really good. Michael Beale was one of the voices, along with, I think, the defensive coach. He was fired up for the games as well. And then and McAllister was always kind of in Gerrard's ear a wee bit sometimes. And maybe this is where our previous manager and our current manager went wrong, where they've not brought in, I'm not saying so much an ex-player, but just somebody's got that kind of motivational bit about them.
I think you're right, but you used to see McAllister leaning forward with his hand over his mouth chatting away. You would notice that type of thing. But just before we go to the break, I'll leave when we go to the break. Just one thing is, you know what I like it is? It's like when you're working in a factory or something like that, and the boss you're really pally with the boss and you really get on good with them and you're skiving about a bit because you ken the boss isn't going to get on to you because he's your pal. I think that's the same kind of scenario with Beale's created with the players. He's very pally with them. He's very close to them that way. You need to have that wee bit of distance, and you need to have that assistant guy that you're saying playing devil's advocate all the time with the manager, with the players, like what Beale was doing. He wasn't actually in charge, but he had this kind of float and roll, this Cantwell roll between the two, if you like. And he was able to relay things to the players. Look, the manager, he's going mental or whatever. And he's playing this devil's advocate, like in the factory situation. Somebody could say, you better watch. You walked through there a minute ago and you said, oh, right, okay, I better get myself back on. He's your pal, but you've got that bit of fear of them, if you like. What will happen? That's for me, is a big point. And that, for me, is the reason that they sometimes just lack something. After 10 minutes, they just fall into this pattern. And I don't know why. He needs to fix it out. I mean, we'll not fix it out. We can talk about it. But I think you're right. There should have been somebody in there. The consistency, the board they have to add, that's saying, look, all right, you're coming in here as Rangers manager, but we're going to insist that you get somebody that is, they should see the link between, we want you to distance yourself with the players a bit. We can't be all pally, chummy with them. We need to have somebody in between that they could play devil's advocate between everybody and keep everybody on their toes, basically. And I don't think that's happening.
Again, that's what happens when you've kind of got a newish guy to managerials, isn't it? He'll maybe hopefully learn for this, but time will tell. Stuart, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on tonight, mate. Great points.
Thanks for having me on, guys. And as I say, I would stick with them until the League Cup, and if they're 4 points behind at that point, I'm not too worried. Hopefully, I like the guy, didn't get me wrong. I like the guy, I like the way he talks. He's very open, he's very transparent. But I think he could just need to step back a wee bit and be a wee bit more animated on the touchline and put a wee bit more into them again. I don't know. Hopefully. Keep your fingers crossed anyway. Cheers, guys. Thanks for keeping me. Thanks for taking me on, I mean. Cheers, then.
Cheers, Stuart.
Bye.
Right. It has got to that time. We're about to hear Fox's greatest hits, so we're going to have a tune.
They both met in the early days. They had more in common in many ways. They both went down to the local town hall. They both loved music and they loved football. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both feel proud. A Ranger's a woman, he's a Rangers man. They'll always speak like a Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk. They both played in the local pipe band and then wear their kilts at the Ibrox stand. They love to dance and they love to sing. When Rangers scored, they do the Highland fling. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both feel proud. A Ranger's a woman, he's a Rangers man. Will always speak like a Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk. Walk the walk, talk the talk. They'll still be there when the going gets tough. Want to marry at the Ibrox ground with 40,000 fans all standing around. When they marry, they might move away, but they'll always be back on a Saturday. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both feel proud. A Ranger's a woman, he's a Rangers man. Will always be like a Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk. When they hear the music from the Rangers ground, they do a little swagger and they both get proud. A Rangers woman, he's a Rangers man, will always be like a Rangers fan. They talk the talk as they walk the walk.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Right, Joe, we all back?
Yep, all hit.
Good. Hope you enjoy your refreshments. Right, so it's probably been about a year, probably just coming up on, with Gio's first All Firm game. So he had these players in place, and then he had his first All Firm game, and it was an absolute demolition that day. And the way that story went on was that we ended up going down a path where we had to get rid of our manager and Michael Beale. Do you see the similarities, or do you think that there's still signs there that Michael Beale is not as bad as that, or what I say is the two managers on par, and do you think we'll just see the same movie play out?
Put it this way, things could be a lot more positive for Michael Beale at the moment, can they? 100%. Similarities in regards to obviously results, and they've both were they both on the back end? Was the game of Ajax for the Gio's first game? Was the game against Ajax during the week before it? I think it was, wasn't it? Did we just come back from
it was,
Ajax?
mate.
Yeah, so we've just gone to Holland twice and got pumped, and then we've come back, and then but I think the manner of defeats were slightly different in regards to Beale has all his own players now, doesn't he? And that looked like a team that hasn't gelled yet for whatever reason, whereas Van Bronckhorst's team at the time looked like a team of players that Van Bronckhorst had made it clear he was expected to have maybe assigned one or two more players, and he kind of looked like he had lost the dressing room. I find it very unlikely that a manager that's just brought all these players in could lose the dressing room, but the team doesn't look settled yet, and it was disappointing. And the gap between the two teams in the game at the weekend didn't look as big, but yet again they didn't have their full strength team out, so that's quite worrying. And I've just had a quick read. It turns out the Ajax game was after the Old Firm game, I believe. So,
All right.
But same principles applies. Both, close to a European defeat and not so positive. But I think Beale's still got a bit of time. I don't think it's over for Beale yet, even though I said twist. I think he can still turn it.
No, I mean, Jim, you're right in what you're saying about the twist. I mean, I think a lot of people will want it done early so that they can, regroup. And I mean, there's still 3 All Firm games there, so you're right in that. But I think where you're coming from, with saying that there's still time, is that the board will give them time, because they'll see it as it's only 4 points, and there's still a long way to go. And it's the usual, isn't it, Robert, that we always kind of usually run to Christmas. We see what happens to the next All Firm game, and if the next All Firm game's a convincing performance and we're there and thereabouts in the league, then they roll the dice, don't they? They roll the dice into the new year to keep going.
They do, mate, and sometimes, as you've seen, it can be too little, too late, but then you don't want to jump ship too early. I think that's the issue we're in just now. It's, do we find it too early for Michael Beale to resign or be sacked? And we have to remember, guys, as well, there's 4 games in the season. There's 34 games remaining. There's plenty of time to catch up. There's plenty of time to fix these issues. And it does feel very raw right now because of what we've had performance-wise over the past few weeks, how results have been. A tough European exit from the Champions League followed up with a performance like that in no firm game. It's going to be hurting, it's going to be stinging, but there is time to turn that around. You do get to January, and that's when you kind of see where we're at, and you'll know if we're way off or if we've caught up, if we're ahead. We don't even know what's going to happen across the road, never mind what's going to happen in our club. The next couple of days, for anything that could happen. They could have an absolute horror show. They've got a bigger injury list growing. And it's just about moments in football. They scored a goal before half-time. That's a moment. But we could have a moment, and that could be the season turner. It's just one of these ones, mate. I think it will take time. And I know people say you don't get time at Rangers. And when is time up? I just feel that it is Michael Beale's squad now. He's done the rebuild that we've all cried out for. It just needs time to click. In 4 games into the season, it's not going to be clicking. It's not going to be perfect. It can be a hell of a lot better right now, but it's not going to be perfect right away. And I think it will come January where these discussions will probably rise again, unless something drastic happens, and it happens sooner.
And I think, JM, the thing that Robert's touching on there, obviously, it is only 4 games into the season, but where it's like a kind of computer game that Michael Beale's used up his 2 lifelines already. He's had his slip up with Kilmarnock. He's had now he's like any old firm defeat. After that, you need to have 100% record. You've only got like 1 life left, and if you have any slip ups, whether it's a draw or a loss in the league, then technically it's like kind of game over. So that side of it, I think, JM, that's where he's put his pressure on himself so early doors that now he's going to have a 100% record going into the next Old Firm game.
Yeah, completely. Not only it's the mixture of results and performances, isn't it? The problem is, you can lose games of football. It happens, where we don't like it. We don't expect to lose any games, but the fact that we're not seeing a great performance either doesn't help falling behind them. And also, unfortunately, in this league at the moment, there's not much competition that's going to take much points off the other team either, is there? So if you keep dropping points, if we go away to St Johnstone and draw again, they win. It can quickly run away from you. It's run away from us in previous seasons, and not always fault. I think because of the combination of other seasons where we've not been involved in a title race, that wears thin. But he's not helping themselves out with his performances and results in the first 3 games of the season.
Robert, what do you think, mate? I know that you're kind of on the side of wanting to see the manager and see how he goes, but he's used up his kind of lifelines now, and he's got to have a kind of 100% record, or else, like I says, I think anything major, like a loss to a kind of weaker team, then it's game over. Oh, sorry, Robert, cut across you. Hi there, is that Linda?
It is, yes.
How are you doing? What's your points?
Pardon?
What points have you got for us tonight?
Oh, no, my point was just, I thought we were really going to smash it in Sunday, and what a disappointment, to the point that I feel so low in life. Now, I know I'm passionate about my football now, but, man, that just wasn't comfort. Just there's something not quite right going on with the players or the manager. There's just something not quite right going on.
I'll take that around the boys, okay? Because I think it is. It's quite a prominent point you make, Robert. I think the stuffing has been knocked out is because, like say that game there at the weekend. I think that's been a build up to the past 2 seasons' frustrations going into that game, and I think everybody, Robert, was expecting us to, like Linda was saying there, to go out and have a good performance.
It was happening at the Ryan ground, and I just thought surely we're going to smash it. Never did I think it was going to turn the other way, because that other mob, they've not even playing great or anything, and I just feel so disappointed to the point I've not even went to my work. I feel that low in life. That's how bad it's actually affected me. I just don't think Beale's the man for the job, to be honest. Definitely don't think he's got the experience or anything. We really do need a manager, that has got a lot more experience than what Beale's got.
Well, let me take you to a guy that will lift your spirits. Here's Robert with his points.
I don't know about lifting spirits, but I'll try. it's one of those ones, Linda. The week that we had played into the game as well, and like GB said, it was years of frustration probably built up. But had we have put out PSV and qualified for the Champions League group stages and get beat 1-0 at the weekend, I personally would have liked to have seen the reaction. I don't think it would be as what it is now. And that's what I'm trying to say as well, that football has moments. If we had beat PSV, and I know it's all big ifs and we didn't, I get that. But the reaction was based on the week we've had, not an isolated game, or as GB said, a longer time. It can only get better, is what I'm thinking, and I'm of the opinion that we stick with Michael Beale, and the reasons for that is it's the unknown of who comes in next, and for me it would just be a backwards step, or at the same stage, because it's a new style.
Sometimes you think you can't go anywhere backwards, really, don't you? But
well, I get you've got to try and do all that trial and error. If somebody else comes in, they're inheriting a squad that Michael Beale's put together.
I do get it. We're only 4 games in. I get that we need to gel together, but I just feel so low with what's happened. I thought we'd done good with PSV over at our end, but that's just knocked us for 6. And then with that mob and Sunday, I've not went to my work or anything. I feel so low in life. Also, a day. Terrible,
it's football, and that's how quickly it changes. We were sitting on this show after the PSV game, happy about a 2-2 result, thinking that was a team arrived, and then 10 days later, here we are. It's how football works, unfortunately. We've been here before, and I'm sure we'll get through it like we have every other hurdle we've had.
Yeah, I think we'll just need to keep our fingers crossed, and the only way's up, really, isn't it? I don't think we could go any lower now. Can we know? You know what I mean? I feel that emotional, and I feel dead depressed and everything as well. But I'll get up and go tomorrow. Like my heels.
I'll go to JM, because JM's probably experienced a lot of the lows with Rangers watching them the last few years and stuff like that. And JM, the tide will turn. It's just a matter of time.
JM. They always turn. It's football, doesn't it? I didn't feel like going to my work on Monday evening, but that was Fox's fault on Saturday.
Sometimes it is just your luck. If you're there at the right time to score a goal and all that as well. Sometimes football can just be about a good bit of luck as well, isn't it?
Yeah, no, completely. And also, I agree. I see what they're saying, because especially when the two teams lined up, when they had their, they had a weaker side, and they've obviously dropped points and came off a bad result the week before. You felt that if this Rangers team was going to arrive, it was going to be on Sunday, didn't you? And the fact is, you thought we were going to take it to them, and unfortunately, the performance just didn't turn like that. But definitely a long season to go, and even though I'm on the impression, but like I said, the only way is up. No doubt we'll come back and we'll
hopefully. Fingers crossed anyway.
That's it, Linda. We can only let us go with the next game and keep marching on. That's why they call it follow. Yeah. But thanks for giving us a call, and thanks for your points. Right. Brilliant tonight.
Okay, right. Thanks very much. Right, bye.
Take care. Cheers.
You too. Bye.
Aye, JM, it's just one of the things. Let's say the fans will be hurting, and clearly they showed their hurt at the end of that game. And I think it's just that it kind of overpoured because it was a build-up of all the seasons that's gone by and all the unlucky bits we've had with injuries. I think it's just it's been an amalgamation of it all, and it all kind of poured out with that one defeat at the weekend.
Yeah, build up of results, and there was a real expectation on the team there, wasn't it? We'll go on about it. We were the favourites going in, and rightly so. They maybe only had half of what they consider their best 11 available, with their defenders and that missing, and they would have been worried going into that game. Obviously, Bill had the pick of his squad pretty much, and it just wasn't good enough, was it? The fans were right, everyone's right to be disappointed in them, but it's also important that we continue to back them as well. And like you say, they've maybe used up a few lives, but if they come back and start stringing some results together, we start closing the gap. We can still improve on this. It's not a big.
Next time. I'll just cut across. I think we've been joined by Robert. Are you there, Robert?
Hi, Gary. How you doing, pal? Okay?
Aye, good, buddy. How are you getting on?
Oh, well, Gary, listen, I'm totally going to disagree with every one of your comments tonight about not just you, and I'm not having a personal attack. I think you're talking a lot of tosh, if I'm being honest with you, saying if we won a League Cup and be 4 points in front, that's acceptable. Honestly, are you listening to yourselves tonight? Come on, guys, this is not good enough. And you're saying, Gary, you're talking about stick and twist, right? You're saying stick. JM's saying stick. Robert's saying stick. Are you really having a laugh? It's twist all the way. It's all the way. Come on.
In your opinion, Robert, in your opinion, mate, in your opinion it is, right? And see, the thing is, I'm sure Walter Smith had that point in time where he was 4 points behind and came back and won the league. So I'm just saying, everybody's got a difference of opinion, bud.
Why, Gary? I can't believe what you've just said there. Why are you bringing Walter Smith in? Walter Smith was a Rangers icon, he made mistakes like all managers do, but come on, you cannot put Walter Smith in the same category as Michael Beale. Gary, I know it's all about opinions, right? I know it's all about opinions, but any Rangers fan on here, this is what's happening. We're settling for second best, and you can't see it. You all come on with all your excuses. Gary, they played against a garbage Celtic team on Sunday, and they get beat 1-0.
I'll take you to JM because I think you said that he was a stick, but he was actually a twist, so I'll give you to JM.
Yeah, Robert, yeah, as JB said there, I was actually a twist man, but are you seriously telling me that? So if somebody told you at the start of the season, if a hypothetical in front of you right now, if Rangers win the League Cup before Christmas, qualify for the second round of Europa League, and we were 4 points behind, would that not be? Would you be wanting the manager sacked at Christmas if that was the case?
No,
do you think that's acceptable?
I'll tell you exactly.
That on paper.
Yeah, I'm not taking winning the League Cup up to Christmas and being the whole thing that is, your point is being 4 points behind. I'll never have been 4 points behind then, no matter which stage of the season is, because I want Rangers to win. So no, I am right and you're wrong. 4 points behind and taking a League Cup? Come on. Are you, come on, and I don't mean to have a personal attack, JB, because you do talk a lot of sense, pal. But I am telling you, I will not accept being 4 points behind in at any point of the season.
I'll pass you on to Robert. Robert, I think we'll need to bring in Pep to make sure we're not 4 points behind.
Nobody's at one point tonight, Robert, has said that we accept a League Cup and being 4 points behind. What I said earlier in the show was it's all circumstantial. If we win the League Cup and are 4 points behind, are we just papering over the cracks? And I asked that question, and I said that if we win the League Cup and you're 4 points behind, you will get people saying, no, it's not good enough because we're still behind. And that's obviously what your opinion would be, and you're quite right to voice that, Robert. But at no time tonight did we say it's acceptable. Of course it's not acceptable to be trailing in a league. And we obviously want all to win trophies and see Rangers doing well and getting ahead as many as we can. But unfortunately, if we are 4 points behind, we are. But at the end of the day, we can get that League Cup final and win it. They can't. That's a big factor. You get a trophy, and like JB said earlier on, it could be a kickstart. Because once you get that trophy in the cabinet, you then have a momentum booster for the remainder of the season. If you lose it, it might not be as well. But at the end of the day, it's not acceptable. And nobody has said that tonight, Robert. It's just opinions, and you're right to voice yours. And I completely see what you're saying, that he needs to go. Again, I would stick, because who do you bring in, Robert? Who would you have that we're going to have a different style and it's going to hit the ground running with the same players? We can't just bring in players now.
Right, what you're saying is right. So you're saying stick, and I'm going to say twist, and we're allowed to disagree with each other, because this is what Rangers Radio is all about. It's all about different opinions, and we'll all get our passion. But I'm telling you why I would stick and I would twist. And you can bring in anybody. See Derek McInnes, he's no Rangers quality, but you know what? He did better than him. He did better than Beale, and this is the whole point I'm trying to make to you, Robert. Is it Robert I'm talking to? This is the whole point I'm trying to make. Anybody could do better. See Michael Beale, tell me one big game he has won as a Rangers manager, or Celtic 3-0 at Ibrox. It was a dead rubber. One big game, he lost the Scottish Cup, he lost the League Cup, and he got his put out of Europe and all that. Champions League was embarrassing there against PSV Eindhoven. Not one game has he won, and yet we're all saying, oh, stick with Michael Beale. Come on, guys, please. I'm saying this again, and I'll say it for the final time. Goni Rangers fans, please wake up. Please wake up, Rangers fans. This is not what we deserve. We, thousands of Rangers fans, go there every week and we support that club, our club that we love. And yet this is we're getting short-changed, because that is not value for money. But I'm watching that we never created one really, really decent chance against them on Sunday, and it was against a poor Celtic team who had 4 or 5 of their best players missing. And you cannot accept that. You cannot accept it. It's not good enough.
Robert, I mean, I agree, mate. We can't accept defeats against Celtic, because that just leads to one place, which is no a title. But obviously, you're making a point, you want them changed and stuff like that. So if we do change, right, and we go down the route of some of the managers that we've been rumoured to be speaking to and stuff like that, what happens if this guy comes in, right, and he ends up losing the League Cup, it gets beat at Christmas, and then we go into another season where he needs to rebuild, and then he starts next season again and he loses. Do we sack him and we go again, and then we're into nearly a 4th season rip it up? I mean, where does it stop, mate? I don't know what the answers is, but I'm just asking you, since like I says you want rid of Michael Beale, where do we go? What kind of money do we need to spend to bring in a top manager?
Right, Gary, I'll put the point on you, pal. Right, I'll put the point back to you. Do you, hand in your heart, Gary? Do you, hand in your heart, think Michael Beale's going to win the league this year?
As it stands now, buddy, no. But I don't know who we bring in who could win the league. Like, I don't think we've got the cash to go and get like a Premier League manager. I don't think bringing in somebody from the other side of the world is going to galvanise this squad. That's what I'm asking you.
100 guys would take that. You're not telling me there's 100 guys out there who take that Rangers job on. Who wouldn't want to manage the most famous club in the world, the Glasgow Rangers? Who would? I don't believe all this nonsense. Oh, nobody wants to take it. I know the money's in English football, right? But you're not telling me there's no somebody out there who's a proper manager that wouldn't take on the Rangers job. Because you know what? I would walk in hot coals and barefooted take the Rangers job on, because I would love to have the opportunity to take that Rangers job on. Do you know one thing I would do that Michael Beale can't do? I would organise them and have them playing to a system. Where's his system? We need wingers, there's no width, we need nothing. But at least I would have the players playing in the right position. Look at Todd Cantwell. That boy's went back so far, it's unbelievable. Nico Raskin's the same, because he'll not play them in the right positions. Let's be honest about it, guys. And this is no me just coming on here if I go Michael Beale because he's lost against Celtic. This is the way I've felt in the last 10 months.
No, I get that. What I'll do, Robert, I'll go to JM. JM, say tomorrow the board wake up and go, right, that's it, time for Michael Beale to go. Where do we shop? I mean, as Robert says, there would be candidates and all the rest of it, but as we've seen in the past, when Gerrard left, it was only really Gio and a couple of other guys that were asked about the job. And then there with Michael Beale, we don't know the ins and outs of who was asked or whatever, but the board went down a path of picking Michael Beale if Robert's saying there was 100 other guys standing in line. So the worry is we go down the path again that we pick a novice manager.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? And by the way, I think the board's definitely going to be having them conversations right now, because it might not be too long before they're actually having to go out and do it if things continue. Because I don't disagree with majority of what Robert's saying, to be honest. But the problem is, it's a great job, biggest club in the world, everything we know it can be. But also, if you're advising, if you're a manager's agent or whatever, and you're looking at a team, you've watched that game on Sunday, you've seen how the crowd reacted, things like that, I think an agent's telling them not to touch the job. Look at the team. Can you get them going? As much as it can make a manager, he got Stevie G. He got a step up. He got a big move to England. Obviously, didn't work out for him. Where do you move on if you get the boot from us? And quickly. And if we're doing it this quickly and that quickly as well, I don't think it's as easy and as obvious as everybody wants to come and manage Glasgow Rangers, because I'll tell you what, it can quickly finish a manager as well.
And it's the greatest job in the world, Jai M. It's the greatest job in the world, pal. And I'll say what, Jai M, can I say one thing to you? I don't take any pleasure coming on here and criticising my team, because I love the bones of my team. Rangers are my life, and I don't come on here. But I don't believe for 1 minute there's no 100 guys out there who wouldn't love to manage Rangers Football Club, because there is. They would all be lining up. And GB, you just said there about, there was only Gio after Steven Gerrard left. No, there wasn't. There'd be 100 guys out there who'd love to manage your football club. Aye, it's a big job, and it's hard to please your fans. And you know what, GB, I left that stadium on Sunday and I never once booed. Because see me as a Rangers supporter, I would never boo. It doesn't matter how disappointed I was with that result, and I can come on here and be negative. But you know what? I never once booed that team from the first minute to the 90th minute, because that's what I do as a Rangers supporter.
Oh, no, I agree, Robert. I agree. I'll just cut across you, Robert, because I think we've been joined by a Billy Boy.
All right.
How's it going, GB? All right, guys?
Aye, good, mate. How are you doing?
Aye, no bad. Listen, it's not very often when I come on the show, or I'm on the show, I agree with Robert, but I think the wee man's 110% correct on this one, guys. I really think that Michael Beale's tenure at Glasgow Rangers is about over, and I'll tell you the reason why. He got his players in last season. Sorry, he got his players in this season. And we were told, or we were led to believe that, give the boy time to get his own players in, etc., etc. Now, we look at the games that Rangers have played so far competitively. Am I still there?
I'm still here, Billy.
Sorry. I'm just looking at the competitive games we've played since Michael Beale's brought these players in, right? We've played 9 games, we've lost 3 and we've drawn 2. We've scored 14 goals and conceded 12. Right? To me, that's no good enough for a Rangers side. Right now, we should be showing some signs of improvement. One of the games we beat Livingston 4-0 at home, and rightly so, we should be beating Livingston. But as for the rest, we should be showing massive signs of improvement. Now, the alarm bells really, for me, was at the game against Celtic at the weekend. And by that I mean as well, Michael Beale has played Celtic 6 times since he came to Rangers to manage Rangers. He's won 1 game, he's drawn 1, and he's lost 4. That's super alarming. And when we've got a manager who, in my opinion, is playing our most influential footballer in Todd Cantwell in a position to cover a defensive weakness or frailty in James Tavernier, then that's very concerning for me, guys. Now, I'm not on here to hear a pop at James Tavernier. James Tavernier has been a brilliant servant to Glasgow Rangers. He's scored wonderful goals for us. Driving forward, he's absolutely out of this world. But we know what Tav is defensively. And for our manager, as I said, to play our most influential footballer in a position to cover a weakness is incredible. So it's no personal against the manager. It certainly isn't that at all. But I just don't think that Michael Beale can take us any further forward. And I hope that the board are actually looking into this now. And because I believe, this is just my gut feeling, I think if we don't show massive improvement in the St Johnstone game and we have victory in that one and a massive improvement against Real Betis and a victory in that one, if they scrape 2 victories we're just papering over the cracks and we're inviting the inevitable. I don't know what you think, guys.
No, I'll take it round the boys. Again, if we pull the trigger, it's a new guy coming in, guy that's got to work with a team. So you're talking that he's going to have a couple of shaky results. For me, then you're writing off a season, to be honest. But like I say, see if it was the case, in my opinion, that it was a lot of people queuing up to get the Rangers job. I think we would have seen another top manager before now. Not him to jail, but he did come for the J League where he had horrendous results. I done all right at Feyenoord, but the Feyenoord fans chased him out of there and all. I just feel as the names that we're getting touted with JM for replacements doesn't fill me with optimism with anything better than what we're sitting looking at it now.
No, but at least Gio came with a serious playing pedigree and could inspire players, couldn't he? Captaining in a World Cup final. It's a little bit different to coaching a few kids at Chelsea, isn't it? I can see why everyone's coming on saying he could do it because of it. With some of the players there and the talent, I'd like to think an average football manager could set up that side and make it a lot more competitive than it was at the weekend. I can see why everybody's calling in and frustrated, to be honest, and I can understand it. But I can also see the arguments of, are you writing off another season if you get rid of a manager? But I was a twist man from the start, and I'm not going to change my mind because we're trying to be positive. I would personally still twist.
Robert?
Gary, I'm listening to you, pal, right? And you're saying you can't see anybody else that could come in and do a better job. Come on. This is Rangers Football Club you're talking about here. This is your club. And what? Who was no wanting to come in and manage your club? We know the expectations are high, and that's the way it should be. See all this 2 trophies out of 20 or something? That's garbage. That is garbage. So don't tell me as a Rangers, Gary, please, as a fellow Rangers supporter, that you are, as I am, don't tell me there's nobody would come in and take that Rangers job or that could do a better job than Michael Beale, because there is.
But Robert, what are you basing that on, mate? Because we've had Pedro Caixinha in the past. The only successful manager we've had in the recent years is Gerrard, and he only got 1 season. It was good. All I'm saying is, mate. No, listen. Let me finish. If you're saying to change again, right? What are you basing that on? That we're going to get better in through the door? We've not signed any manager that's came in there and went on a run of titles.
And see if you'd back Stephen Gerrard, Mr. Douglas Park and Stuart Robertson and Ross Wilson, and we don't want to go down that road because that's the past, we need to move on. But see if you'd back Mr. Stephen Gerrard, we would have got 56. I don't care what you say, we were 6 points in front. If we'd backed Mr. Gerrard and gave him Joey Veerman instead of Janino Bacuna, then we maybe would have got 56. I can't prove that's going to be a fact. Stephen Gerrard was a good man. He made mistakes. He should have won a treble that season. But you know what? I'd have rather kept Stephen Gerrard, and if we'd backed that manager, that's all I'm saying to you, Gary. You can't tell me that, Robert, if we get rid of Michael Beale, who do we get in? Who do we get in? There's tons of guys out there, and I know you're realist with Potter and the rest of them. You might not think are good enough, but I'm sorry, Gary. See that Michael Beale? He's not doing a good job, mate. Look at the Scottish Cup. Look at the League Cup semi-final against Celtic when it took him nearly 70 minutes to make a substitute. When Celtic went 2-0 up before he made a substitute. Look at the mistakes. Look at the game at Ibrox, the 2 each game. Look at all the mistakes he's made, and I'm sorry. That's unforgivable, mate. It's unforgivable.
Robert's wanting to make a wee point. There you go.
Robert, I'm listening to what you're saying there, mate, right? And as we've said, nobody here has got a right or wrong answer, all right? But see the names that have been mentioned, right? You mentioned there Graham Potter. He's sitting doing absolutely hee-haw, getting paid millions from Chelsea, all right? As much as he could be a decent manager for us, I don't see that happening. You mentioned Derek McInnes earlier on. What are you basing that on? The fact that he beat us 1-0 in the league opener and put them out the cup 1-0? The guy works in a tight budget with Kilmarnock, right? He does a job for them, but that's pretty much the standard. He gets the revenue of Aberdeen as well. So but we're basing it on recent results. You're talking again there about backing Gerrard. If you listen to the interviews when we signed Dessers and Lammers, these guys were linked when Gerrard was here. So there's nothing to say that Dessers and Lammers would have signed 3 years ago when Gerrard was here, and it would be the same problem. We're basing it on what is now, and unfortunately, it's not performing. 100% it's not performing, and we're hurting by it. But as I said, it's the week we've had for me. It's been a hectic and hurting week, and it can only get better. But the squad is what it is now. There is improvements in the squad from what there was last season. The board have backed Michael Beale. Now Michael Beale has got to repay them, but there will be a time when that comes. But he's going to have to show. He can't just turn around after 4 games and go, see you later, mate. Because how much money is it going to cost the board to not pay off Beale, but his backroom staff, and then bring somebody in? Because once you pay off him, how much money do we have to bring in a manager? Because if it's somebody in a job, it's compensation. And if it's not, if it's a free agent, are they then an inexperienced rookie? Are they a coach? There's names linked, but the pedigree is not there. So that's why it's probably safer right now to stick and give Beale what he said he will do and give him that chance. Yes, he's used up 2 lives, as GB said earlier on, but we can't cut ties far too early. Because as I said, for me, we're sitting, going backwards if we bring somebody else in, because they're starting again from scratch. Trying to find his best 11 and the style. There's too many risks. We can review it later on.
I'm listening. I'm listening what you're saying, and honestly, pal, and I can appreciate what you're saying. So what you did say there was there's improvement for this. Well, see, this time last year, Rangers were in the Champions League. Where are they this season? Going to answer me that?
They're in the Europa League group stages. But
yeah, so how's that an improvement? How's that an improvement for this time last year when Rangers were in the Champions League under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, who never lost a domestic cup competition? He never lost a domestic cup competition, but yet we all shouted for his season, get him out the door. And he did make mistakes. But I'll tell you one thing: Gio never lost a domestic cup competition. Michael Beale has lost 2.
But look what happened in the Champions League. We got absolutely humiliated. Think of the hurt and embarrassment that happened in that. You cannot sit here, Robert, and tell me that those nights.
It was all injured. Look at the injuries we had. We had to play with young Leon King. Let's not make excuses. And James Sands. We had to play with him. What other team in the world would have done any better in the Champions League when you're playing with? You didn't have Hadji. You didn't have Roof. You didn't have Tom Lawrence. You didn't have Big Philip Hollander. Let's not make, and I'm not making excuses about the Rangers last year. It could have been better. But look at the players we had missing. With 9 or 10, and you know one thing, if you don't notice this season, we don't have the same sort of injury because that doctor's back. Have you not noticed that right already? So I cannot accept us talking about last season and embarrassment of you. Any team would have been embarrassed in the Champions League with the amount of injuries that they had, and that's no making excuses. That's just being honest.
Of course it is, mate. And that's the squad difference now. It's a bit more depth. And I agree about your point with the doctor. I said it's when he came back, that's probably the best signing we'll make. And it was no coincidence for me that the injuries happened when he left. That's not a coincidence. That's just a fact. But we are where we are, mate. And Europa League is probably our standard right now. As much as we would love the money for Champions League, we can't compete at that level, mate. We just can't.
Right. Good points by the 2 years there. I just want to jump back to Billy because obviously Billy's not had a chance to kind of give his views on where we would go if the trigger's pulled. So Billy, mate, you come in, mate. Like I says, you're the board of directors. You've pulled the trigger. You've said goodbye to Beale. Who's the candidate that comes in? Where are we shorting? Where's the hope?
Billy, that all depends on what kind of budget we've got. Because I'm sure we'll have used our budget up on the players, I would imagine, for this season. And I hope the board have been forward thinking and thinking to themselves, well, that's the plan A. What happens if we need a plan B? I mean, it's what we can, us as Rangers supporters, fans, or whatever you want to call us, we can throw all the names about we want. We would like this one, we would like that one. There's stacks of the managers who work there. I mean, just these are no people I would go for. I'm just taking a wee look at some of the things the managers it's actually out of work now. Right, so there's Graham Potter's getting through around. You've got Frank Lampard. You've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Joachim Low, Luis Fernandez, Conte. You know what I mean? Robert Perez, Diego Alonso. I mean, the list is endless. Sam Allardyce. You know what I mean? Philip Clement. Ralph, what's his name? Hazelholt, I think. Who was at Bayern, etc. Hazelhouten, aye. You've got all these guys now. As I said, mate, I don't know. We can throw names all round about to the coups come home, mates. I just hope that the board, if they're seeing signs of this going wrong here, that they've got candidates in mind to come in. But I would expect it'll all come down to what kind of budget for the manager. Plus, I'm sure the same scenario as well. You'll have a compensation payout to do with your current management team and his background staff if that's what went on to happen, if they did pull the plug on it. So you would take that to pay, but I wouldn't imagine that would be a lot, but it'd still be a substantial amount of money. And then you've got to give the new management team their wages and whatnot. But listen, the way I see it is as well, Gary, is this. I would rather see something. As I said, if we don't show massive improvement in the next two games, then I think the inevitable is going to happen, because we've still got a chance to turn this around. And I just didn't hope. I know one of the boys says here we wait till Christmas and all that, but what happens if we wait till Christmas and we fall further behind? You know what I mean? If this is what outcry is like just now, can you imagine what it's got to be like at Christmas? And the Rangers don't need that negativity, mate. You just don't need it. But let
me take it to JM now, mate. JM, all the names sound amazing that are listed and stuff like that. Big names, good managers, most of them. But as I was saying earlier, JM, Rangers have not got a good track record. We've gone down the kind of big name route, and what I say is, I just honestly don't think any of the kind of bigger names, Graham Potter and all the rest of it, are going to come up to Rangers, because let's face it, the budget is very, very small, and you're going to have to dig and dig and dig to find these gems that's out there, and many people have already tried and failed. So to try and cover his wages now, even him now moving to a place like Chelsea, he'll know his worth. So Giant, where do we go if we start shopping in different markets?
I'm glad it's not me that has to decide, that's for sure. It's easy enough for me to say Twisted and say I don't know who we should go and get. It's a tough one, isn't it? Like I said, these big managers, these Potters and that, I just can't see him wanting to come up here and having to scrap for players of the calibre of Dessers and players like that. And for, we have to be in the free agent market and looking around. It's tough. It's not an easy gig. You're looking for, like you say, you're either looking for a rookie who's going to make a reputation for himself. And as everyone says, we've not a good track record of picking them thus far. Or you're looking at somebody who's out of a job, and 9 out of 10 times there's a reason why these managers are out of a job, aren't they? It's a hard one, but we can't carry the performances from the team and from the coaching staff can't carry on like this, that's for sure. There won't be long before we're actually talking about who's going to be replacing Beale if these results continue.
Robert Worrell, mate, obviously, like I said, mate, you're like most fans. You're scared after the weekend because it's the same old story, it's the same old movie, and we don't want to see it. We want to see a successful team. We want to see a successful manager, because Beale's got, I got to admit, Beale's got his Rangers' best interests at heart. But what I says, mate, like, would you give him after the international break to kind of prove his worth, or no? Is it got to be these 2 weeks that we start searching for a new manager?
Yeah, and Gary, listen, I can understand where you're coming through, pal. Right, the way you're talking tonight, right? But Gary, can I say one thing to you? You've just come out there and said about where do we go for here. Can I give you a wee example? And I know football has changed in the last 20, 30 years, the way with money. But can I give you a wee example when Rangers were downsizing? Remember Rangers downsized up? Gary, you probably know, you're old enough to remember, but I do. Remember Rangers were downsizing and they brought a man in and he won 5 trophies in 18 months. Gary, who was that?
Big Eck.
Yes, we brought Alex McLeish in and he won 5 trophies in 18 months, and we were downsizing, had to get rid of Barry Ferguson, Big Hammer Rousseau, etc. and all that. So it proves it can be done. If you've got a manager in there and he gets back to the basics, and Gary, I'm going to say this right now on Rangers Radio, because I love phoning into this programme. Our biggest problem is, and it's not about boys for the jobs or anything like that. We should have a Kevin Thompson, a Barry Ferguson on our, I'm not saying as manager, on our coaching staff. We've got guys sitting on that bench and they don't know what Rangers is all about. And I hear Rangers fans all shouting out, like my wee pal Andy Felice will come on and go, we've not got enough Rangers men. And you know what? He's bang on the money. He's bang on the money. And that's what we need in our coaching staff. We need people that knows what our club's all about. And that's a real problem. That's a real problem we've got in our club. We've not got enough Rangers men in our team. And
no, you still there, Robert?
I'm still there. I'm just saying we don't have enough Rangers men in our squad. I know you can say, Steve Davis, Ryan Jack, and Big John Shooter. No, I know you can come away with all that, right? But I'm telling you, see, when it comes to the crunch, we don't have enough Rangers men, and it's no jobs for the boys, because I don't agree with all that nonsense. If you're not good enough, you shouldn't be working for our club. And I'm telling you right now that as guys out there that should come in and manage our football club and get the basics right, come on. We don't want to watch no word from our team. We want to watch a Rangers team that we're proud of. A Rangers team that will give wingers like we Davy Cooper, like Bobby Russell in midfield, like we John McDonald, like Alex McDonald. We want to watch Rangers players who'll go out there and they'll fight for our club. They'll give their all. No, there's no mercenaries. And unfortunately, not just Rangers, it's football all over the world. They're all mercenaries. That's exactly what they were. But I don't want to see that. And I'll tell you, she's a Rangers supporter. I want to see a Rangers players that are loving them. I'll go out there and give their all. They'll like Todd Cantwell. See Todd Cantwell, that boy's getting ruined. That boy is actually getting ruined under Michael Beale.
I'll go to our Robert on the show. I think you've got a point to make, mate.
Robert, you're talking there about the likes of a Barry Ferguson or Kevin Thompson, and I get that, and I think we need that as well, a shouter on the pitch. And I know people would say we don't get that from Tavernier as a captain. He's not that kind of shouty person. But for me, maybe as a younger generation to yourself, Robert, for me, football's changed since then. We don't have people who are Rangers men or any team's men for that matter. They don't care about that anymore, and that's unfortunate, and I wish it wasn't the case. But now it's just coming to a club and saying what the fans want to hear, mate. That's exactly what it is. Todd Cantwell, good footballer, surprised me with his work rate, what he's doing. Highly rate the boy, but he's saying what we want to hear, and that's why we love him. And any signing saying that we would love, but he's not a Rangers man. Do you know what I mean? And we don't have them. And I get what you're saying about Ryan Jack as well. It doesn't really matter, mate. It's not. They're not there anymore. I don't feel. And times have changed. That's just an unfortunate thing of where we are, man.
But Robert, George Alberts wasn't a Rangers man. Lorenzo Amaruso wasn't a Rangers man. Peter Lovingtrantz wasn't a, but they still done it. So I'm not putting up with all this. Or they're no Rangers men. We want Rangers men in our team. Of course we do. We'd have loved. Why didn't we sign Lewis Ferguson? That's another debate. But come on, you don't have to be a Rangers man. Just go out there and pull that shirt on and give your all. Look at Big George Alberts. Come on. Anybody on this programme tell me Big George Alberts didn't give his all and he wasn't a Rangers man. He gave his all and he was magnificent.
Aye, brilliant. Billy, you've got a point to make as well, bud?
Aye, Gary, I was just thinking there, maybe we're talking about new managers and that. I just wondering if new manager were coming in, one of these top experienced coaches would come in, knowingly that he wins the league, he gets right into the Champions League. That in itself is a massive carrot for any manager.
It's something that you go in the CV into. A lot of managers do want to test themselves at the top table. But again, I think it all comes down to money. And I don't think we are, even if you look across the city, they tried to entice a certain manager at Newcastle and he even turned that down. You mean, so I think it's just down to money a lot of the time.
Yeah, it should be a great way to get in managers and players, shouldn't it? The opportunity to play in the Champions League and show yourself on the biggest stage of them all. But I think, yet again, is it the best advert when they saw you can go on to injuries? And I agree with Robert actually quite a bit on that. We had a bad set of circumstances for the majority of them Champions League games. But what I would say is, on paper, does someone want to come and manage probably one of the bottom seeded teams in the Champions League and get shown maybe on the side of some bad doings? I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? But yeah, the Champions League should be a pull for any manager or player.
Billy and Robert, where I do agree with the two is that we're a big club. We've got that kind of carrot of the Champions League, Europe, even if it's Europa League football as well. You mean, it gives managers a kind of chance to show themselves on the big stages and stuff like that. Where I'm just coming from, like I say, is just the way our track record is, the way our board is quite tight with the kind of how much they spend in that area. And again, we've seen it with our squad. I mean, we've got rid of a lot of players and we've spent to bring players in, but really, if you look at it, we've kind of balanced the books. It's not exactly, I think even somebody's worked out that we've only spent so many million on that squad. It's not been the 13, 14, 15 million that people have thought it's been. Overall, when all these players have been shipped out and we've got the money back in, Billy, it's we've been balancing the books for years now.
I think as well, Gary, there's two ways you can look at this as well. You can say to yourself, well, do you it doesn't matter what any club it is, do you have a manager that can manage top players, or do you bring in top players, a poor manager type thing? You know what I mean? It's one of the ones. I prefer a top manager with top credentials, massive experience to get the best out a group of good players, because he will get the best out of them. That's the way I see it. I don't see it the opposite way. You know what I mean? So, listen, you never want any Rangers manager to lose his job. I mean, that's not the way how we work. But we've got to be realistic here as well. And I've not seen massive improvements here with the players he's brought in. And I think I think the boys only got an couple of games, and that could be the final nail type thing. But we'll keep supporting them on anyway, mate. When no matter if it's Michael Beale the next two games or no, I'm sure all the fans will be the same. We'll get behind the Rangers.
Aye, Robert, will be follow, mate. We're getting to that kind of time of the night. So just last words for yourself, buddy.
Gary, can I say one thing, son? You've done a good job tonight on Rangers Radio. As a host, you've done well. Good to hear Billy on as well, and all the guys on the panel, on the calls. And I don't mean to sound negative, because if I'm negative, it's because how much I love my club, how much I love the Glasgow Rangers. And I'll tell you something. There's always somebody there's hundreds out there that would love to take the Rangers job on as manager, as players, whatever. Do you know what? And that's because what we are, Gary, we're not just a big club. Glasgow Rangers are a massive club, and Glasgow Rangers fans and all going to start acting like a big club the way you've always done. Gary, good night. Thanks, pal, for taking my call, and I really appreciate it.
No bother, buddy. Again, great points and great passion, bud. I'll jump to Billy, mate. Last words, quickly, bud.
Hi, board guys. Thanks for taking my call, mate. I just thought I'd come on and a wee blare about the Rangers and that. Let's hope we can turn this around, because we all know, as Robert says, we all love the Rangers. We're all together in this one, and things can only get better, because they certainly can't get any worse than they do. But onwards and upwards, we are the people.
And final words for yourself, or Robert, on the show?
Well, Gary, good show tonight, mate. JM, great being on with you again. Great points by all the callers tonight. Robert, I do love your passion, mate. I love listening to you. Been a great debate, and I'm sure it'll rage on for the next 2 weeks minimum. And just before I go, Andy for Leeds, happy birthday. I hope you're having a good one, mate.
Oh, that would be you. You'll be getting a good present as well for that. JM, last words for you, buddy.
Yeah, cheers for tonight, gents. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed everything from the callers. Some great debates, great discussion, great passion. And as Robert said, I'm sure it's going to go on for another couple of weeks. But while he's still with us, let's still back our manager, and hopefully things turn around.
Brilliant. Can I just say thank all the callers tonight? Like I says, we're all here to make our own opinions and make our own points, and they're all valid. And just a thanks to everybody that, like I say, the callers conducting themselves really well tonight. Appreciated. Thanks to Stuart, who phoned in, Linda, who phoned in, Robert Worrell, Billy. Big thanks to the young team tonight, Robert and JM. Brilliant to have you on, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed the young team. Thanks in the background to Fox and Old School Blue. Big thanks to the person on the phones tonight. One in there at the last minute doing the deed for us. So thanks again to that. We've been Rangers Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night. And remember, we are the people.